We first meet Mike in a rehab group for gamblers. Mike is an ex-cop whose current job is debt collector. His ex-wife Iris is a detective and Mike would like to reconcile with her. Mike collects debts to pay off his own debts to Philly gangster Moss. Moss's father was a well-respected boss, and now Moss is at the helm. Deli is Moss's girlfriend. She walks out of dinner with Moss after he re-gifts her an expensive necklace. Moss sends Mike off to bring her back. When Mike catches up with Deli, their interactions points towards them having a relationship. The next morning when Moss awakes, Deli is missing. He has information that she's been spotted in Florida. He wants Mike to go find her and bring her back. Mike is very clear that he wants to stay away from Florida. Moss makes a deal with him that he will knock off $50,000 off of his debt if he takes the job. Mike arrives in Florida and promptly steals a firearm from the luggage carousel. The gun belongs to Sheriff Ketcher, who's on vacation in Florida. Mike checks into the Palms Motel ran by Benny. Before he gets settled in, he's already getting flooded with text messages from Moss. Mike has an accident at the beach that lands him in the hospital. His sister Patsy, who works there, comes to check up on him. We're introduced to Officer Boone. Mike goes to him for assistance in finding Deli. He tells Officer Boone that he's trying to find Deli to deliver an insurance settlement check. Boone is inclined to assist Mike since Mike's dad was instrumental in advancing his career. Speaking of, next we meet Mike's dad, Sonny, also an ex-cop. Currently, he's in the smuggling business. Yes, he's a criminal. From their interaction, it doesn't appear that Mike and Sonny are close. Boone comes through for Mike with information on the location of Deli's car. Iris is investigating Moss. She calls Mike and tells him that cops have found a dismembered body. It was the same gambler that Mike was squeezing for payments at the beginning of the show. Mike then gets a call from Moss. Moss starts threatening Mike, and Mike threatens him right back. More than once, they've shown a flashback of Mike as a kid on the beach. He finds a gold coin inside of a fish. Based on the information he received from Officer Boone, Mike finds Deli. He trails her and a gentleman to a cottage. As he awaits outside, he hears a gunshot. He runs in, gun drawn. He finds a bloody Deli, dead. The dude with her is nowhere to be found. Mike takes Deli's phone and leaves the scene. He calls Moss. He wants to know if Moss knows the password to the phone. He does not. Officer Boone investigates the potential crime scene. However, the cottage is clean. The lady next door says she heard the gunshot, saw a man run into the cottage, and then the ambulance came and took the girl out of the room. She tells Boone that she could describe the man to a sketch artist. Mike stops by his dad's boat. He wants to know why there's nothing on the news about a dead woman from last night. His dad thinks he's just there to make sure that he wasn't spotted leaving the cottage. Apparently, Sonny has been following him. Mike is in a bar showing photos of Deli to the bartender. While doing so, he notices a news story about an ambulance being carjacked that night. The driver is the same dude that he saw with Deli at the cottage. Mike has a run-in with the news anchor, Caitlin Fox, from last night's broadcast. He convinces her to go on a breakfast date the next day. Officer Boone gets a sketch of the guy fleeing the cottage. He asks Sonny about Mike's involvement of last night's shooting. When he shows Sonny the sketch, Sonny says, "That's not Mike." Boone tells Sonny that the days of him looking the other way while he commits crimes are over. Mike meets Caitlin for breakfast. He lies to her about being able to get her on national coverage. He sweet talks her into giving him footage of the ambulance crash. When he watches the video, he notices that the ambulance was empty. Boone returns to the cottage, looking for evidence. He notices a blood drop on the floor. Sonny goes to Mike. He tells him that Officer Boone is on to him. He tells Mike to leave Florida because he's affecting his hustle. Sonny tells him about the crime scene being cleaned. This gives Mike the idea that it was a professional hit. Thinking that Moss was responsible, he gives him a call and accuses him. Moss is upset for two reasons. One, Deli is dead, and two, he's being falsely accused. As Mike heads back to his motel room, he notices that his door is ajar. When he opens it, Deli is in his bed, alive. Flashback. Deli arrives in Florida. She's enjoying her freedom. She actually spots Mike upon his arrival in search of her. One night, she approaches a dude at the bar, Jason. He's an EMT worker. She gets her hooks into him. Jason prepares for the night's mission. Inside the cottage, he pours fake blood over Deli. He then gives her an injection to slow down her heart rate. They fire the gun and wait for Mike to enter. Afterwards, Jason picks Deli up and puts her in the back of his ambulance. There's a crash. Some meth head ran a damn stolen police car into them. Jason is injured and Deli is ejected from the ambulance. We get back to the present where Mike finds Deli alive. She's got some explaining to do. Mike is forgiving, partially because she's got a gun and partially because she's kind of hot. Moss calls Mike and tells him to come back to Philly because those debts aren't going to collect themselves. Deli's main reason for leaving wasn't to get away from Moss. It was for her to find gold. One night when Moss was beating up a mark, the guy told Moss about a truck filled with gold down in Florida. Deli overheard all of this. She even managed to get one of the gold coins. She enlists Mike to help her find the gold. She enticed him with that booty. Quick story. The meth head robs a convenience store with a gun and a hand grenade. He shoots the cashier and throws the gun in the swamp. The gun lands on the top of an alligator's head. The gator goes to land and the gun falls off. A young man finds the gun. Sheriff Ketcher tries to buy a gun at the gun show, but he's denied. This can't be realistic because they'll give you a gun in Florida just for buying the #1 combo at Wendy's. Before leaving the show, that young kid gets Ketcher's attention. He offers to sell Ketcher the gun. Ketcher buys it. Ketcher gets pulled over by the highway patrol. I guess he fit the description. While going through the license and registration routine, the patrolman sees the gun Ketcher just bought from the kid. Long story short, Ketcher ends up in jail. Mike and Deli get closer. They discuss plans on finding the truck full of gold. Officer Boone approaches Mike and tells him that he's on his trail. Just then, Deli comes skipping around the corner and hops into the car with Mike. Boone is confused because he spent the last few hours trying to find the killer of a dead woman who just appeared to be alive. I'd like to file a complaint. This is Clara and Benny. We're deep into episode 2, and they haven't been used at all. Mike shows up at his sister's house. He needs her assistance. He wants her to give him the status of Jason, the EMT ambulance driver. I guess he wants to see if dude's gonna be able to reveal Deli's little fake death scheme. We also get Delgado and Dunny. They're talking about pulling Iris off the Moss case. It's a conflict of interest since she's Mike's ex-wife and Mike is involved with Moss. And one more thing. Deli stole a thumb drive from Moss. Stealing thumb drives is really getting overused in shows these days. Family Time. Mike found the location of the truck. It's submerged in a body of water. He calls Deli and gives her the information. Deli then shares the information with, of all people, Sonny. We get a news story of a dude breaking into the prison because he left his cell phone there. In the commotion, Deputy Ketcher manages to escape. That's all we're going to get of Ketcher's story in the first 3 episodes. I don't know where it'll go from here, but color me uninterested. Deli shows up at Sonny's bar. She recruits him to help search for the gold. She does this behind Mike's back. Then we get the scene of Mike calling her to let her know that he's found the location. Mike and Deli are hanging out in their room. Moss calls to get a status check. Deli makes Mike put them on speaker so that she can eavesdrop. Well, this backfires on Deli because Moss tells Mike that she stole a flash drive out of his safe. Just one more thing that she's keeping from him. Mike spots Sonny trailing him. He goes over and punctures his tires. Sonny tells Mike that it'll be best if he let him run the gold extraction operation because Mike isn't capable. Moss is having a memorial for Deli. We find out what's on the flash drive. It's images of the murders that Moss has created. Iris shows up at the memorial to snoop around. She gets information that Mike found Deli in Florida. After the memorial is over, Moss's sister Dory shows up. She's the responsible one in the family. She tells Moss that there was an undercover cop at the memorial, gathering information. She scolds him that their father would have never let something like that happen. Mike and Deli arrive at the location. When they get there, his dad and two of his ex-cop buddies are there, Buzz and Ray Ray. They argue over the split. Buzz dives into the water to confirm that the truck is there. Afterwards, Mike and Deli have an argument about her going behind his back to seek assistance from his dad. Ray Ray and Deli are waiting around doing surveillance. During their conversation, Ray Ray lets it slip that Mike was married to a cop. Upset, Deli moves out of the motel room that she shared with Mike. It's the night of the extraction. Sonny and Mike go underwater to attach the chains to the truck. Up top, Buzz runs his mouth and lets the forklift dude know that there's gold in the truck. The forklift dude stops things. He wants to renegotiate his cut. As Sonny and Mike are waiting for Buzz to start the lift, they see the forklift dude floating down. He's got a hole in his head. Buzz must have popped him. You know, sometimes I start to recap a show and 10 minutes in, I know I'm not gonna like it. And worse, I'm faced with the reality that I got 3 more hours to watch. Not to mention all the time that I spend making the video. Well, this was that experience. I came in with no expectations. My hopes were dashed early on. The plot's dry. It's got pretty women doing dumb things. Average dudes with way more power and clout than they should have. It's not funny when I think it's trying to be funny. Some characters are introduced and then their story is left abandoned long enough for you to forget what it was about when they do reappear. So, as you might expect, I'm out.